Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Anthony, and I'm a real alcoholic and a recovered alcoholic, and I'm an alcoholic of the type. I'm a chronic alcoholic. I have solved the drink problem. I'm an ex-problem drinker. Everything that it says in the big book, right? And I think we're going to have fun today. I have no idea what I was going to talk about as I prayed, but I'm pretty sure I know what I'm talking about today. So my sobriety date is May 7th, 1996. That gives me 9,716 days if we're counting days today, man. So I know everybody likes to count days. So this is the only time I've been in AA, and I'll probably talk a bunch about AA. So if you really want to break it up, I've probably been in AA for about 18 years, the fellowship, and I've been in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous for about the last 9.5 years. I'll probably explain that a little bit more. It's a lot about what we talked about last night. I'm a member of the Byoc, which is Bring Your Own Coffee. We are officially like a Zoom meeting now. We were an in-person meeting. We spoke about it before the meeting today. We have 3 meetings. We meet on Monday night for a Big Book Beginners meeting at 6:45 p.m. Eastern. We read 3 pages, and then someone speaks for 5 minutes, and then we go around the room and speak about what we read with usually a minute or so timer there. Wednesday night, we do a Big Book meeting where we study through the Primary Purpose Guide, PPG Study Guide. And that's really special. That's there's a guide that was created by that group down in Dallas where Cliff was a member, where we read 3 pages or so, and then we go through using the guide where we go through and ask a question about every sentence that's in that guide, and we answer with the next question. It's a great way to learn what's in the book, and there's some comments in there. And then someone shares for 10 minutes, and again, around the room, usually for about a minute with a timer. Saturday morning is our topic meeting, and we have a lot of fun there. It used to be we talk about anything, and I told you there was a change somewhere, maybe about 2014, I'm guessing. And now we pretty much talk about the solution and about God there as our topic. And that's 7 a.m. So that's how we got our name, Bring Your Own Coffee. Nobody wanted to make coffee at 7 a.m. for a 7 a.m. meeting, so we did a little play off of Bring Your Own Booze, and we did Bring Your Own Coffee, BYOC, not BYOB. I see a couple of friends came. It's good to see you guys. So that's who I am, right? And I told you I was a real alcoholic, which means what? That I'm crazy, right? That I'm insane. Right? Because what does the second step say? Came to believe that a power, capitalized P, talking about God, power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Now, I don't know about where you live, but people that aren't insane do not need to be restored to sanity. Right? We missed that one, right? If someone come in here and told me I was insane from the beginning, I probably would have been like, damn, I was trying to figure out, am I a addict? Am I an alcoholic? Am I alcoholic and addict? Am I an addict and an alcoholic? All those things we say, we don't know what to say because nobody tells us what an alcoholic is. And so let's do that for a little bit, right? If I told you about myself, I'm crazy, I'm selfish, I blow up relationships, that I steal, I steal pleasure, I steal comfort, I steal stuff, I'm fearful, I'm resentful. That's all you pretty much need to know about me. Maybe I'll say a couple of things here or there, but I really want to concentrate, like I always do now, on what our solution is, right? Find out what our problem is, right? And again, I told you I'm sober since 1996, right? May 7th of 1996. I came in, I didn't think I was an alcoholic. I called up a buddy who was in AA, who I spent my young life, gambling and carousing and drinking and doing other stuff with, and he ended up in AA. I got in a little trouble with the missus, and she kicked me out. I was at my mom's house and I called my buddy up and he says, why don't you come to a meeting? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not an alcoholic. And he said, why don't you come anyway? And I was like, okay. Right. I never say okay to stuff that I don't want to do. Never. Still, that one time I said okay. Right. And I went to a meeting. He took me to a meeting. There were some people that I knew. I liked it a little bit. It seemed like pretty cool. It seemed like they had that, I was probably thinking about a million different things at that time, right? When you first come in. And I came outside. They were like, what do you think? I'm like, this is pretty good. I said, same time next week. They go, no, it's every night. And I was like, what? Right? What? And they're like, you willing to do that? And I was like, my head was going, no way. This is crazy. I'm not doing that. I'm not bad. I'm not like these people. And I went, okay. So the second time I said okay to something I didn't want to do. So I know that's not me, right? You got to look back at some stuff. If I've never said okay, and now I say okay, so I come in, we hang out a little bit. I meet a guy who I, asked to be my sponsor, and I had known him from softball, and he had some time, and he said, I'll sponsor you if you join my group. And I was like, okay. And, his group is a Marinette group, which wasn't far. It was the next town over. And all my friends were like, don't go there. They're nuts there. They're like vigilant. They do the steps. Check this out for a second, guys. They do the steps really fast, 1 a month. So I want you to think about something. If they do them really fast, and this is like the world famous, supposedly, Marinette group. They do them fast, 1 a month. What was everybody else doing? But I did go there, and I did do those steps the way that they showed me, right? It's completely different than what it says to do in the book. But I did what they asked me to do. I did 1 a month, steps 6 and 7. I was kicking doors down because, they keep you on 6 and 7 for a month each. It's not what it says to do. So I was nuts and angry and resentful and crazy. And so I was kicking doors down. I have my friends in AA come help fix my doors. That'll keep it pretty brief. But I went through the steps. I had some type of spiritual awakening. I'm going to let you know that my obsession to drink and do any other stuff left me pretty much immediately. I'm one of the lucky ones. Now, I will tell you that after I go through the steps, I do some speaking. They make me the group chairperson 1 year. I'm in charge of the literature 1 year. I buy the coins another time. I'm in charge of the alkathon. I set up, I clean up, I cake, I balloon, I do all the stuff, right? But I was never really taught what an alcoholic was. They told me to say I was an alcoholic. I was never told you got to work with other people. You got to take other people through the steps. So what do I start doing over time? Going to meetings once in a while, not going to many meetings, going when I don't feel good. And then what did I do at those meetings? I went, and I say this nicely, I vomited, right? You go to a meeting, you haven't been for a while, you're not feeling well, you're still fighting with people, you're still lying, you're still doing all these terrible things, but you didn't drink. So I guess you're a miracle, right? And I come to a meeting and I got to vomit on you because I got to tell you, my job's not good, my wife's not good, my kids aren't good, my this isn't good, the guys on the softball team, the guys that are everybody, I'm in, fighting with everybody. Everything's bothering me. And then I would go, I'd make some room, and I go back out into the world until the next time I needed to go to a meeting. But one thing that was always promised to me was in May, at the end of May, I got to get cake. Everybody gets cake, right? You sign up. Doesn't matter how many meetings you went to. I'm going to probably tell you that if you know alcoholics the way I know them, it doesn't even matter if you drink. They don't even ask you if you drank. You just got to sign up, right? And then you sign up, and nobody says, were you a good person? Nobody says, were you a good employee? Nobody asks you if you were kind. Nobody asks you if you stole. Nobody asks you if you sinned, right? It's just sign up, and then you got a free time to talk about yourself. You know how it goes. It was an up year. It was a down year. I struggled. I had high points. I got a job. I need a job. I lost a job. I want a job. I need some time off. Right? Everybody knows we hear the same thing. But what do I remember the most from those shares? And I don't go to many of those things anymore because, I'm a lot more involved, and we'll switch to that mode in a little bit. I remember that so many people with so much time were struggling with drinking still, right? White knuckling it, as they said. One of my one of the memories that I have that's pretty strong is there was a lady, and I brought a beginner to a meeting in the local town, and it was an anniversary meeting, and I bring the beginner. I think I had a couple of beginners with me that I was helping with steps, and the lady came up. She was the first speaker. She had 33 years, and she got up there and she started sharing about how these seltzers with alcohol, whatever they're called, like she was enamored with them. And she went to the store and she went to look at the bottles, and she really liked seltzer water. And she was fantasizing about these drinks. And I'm just sitting here going, what kind of message is the newcomer getting from this person? This is what I'm supposed to expect when I get 33 years and I'm still going to be wanting to drink, and I'm still going to be fantasizing about this. And what I'm going to tell you is that's not what the program of Alcoholics Anonymous is about. Right? So let's fast forward a little bit. I get to 14 years, 15 years, 18 years, I think it was. And I am at an emotional bottom. I mean, I am having trouble everywhere. Now I'm sober and I'm leading a good life, and I go to church and I do this and I do that, but I'm not emotionally sober. I'm not working with anybody. I'm not doing any steps. I don't know how many meetings I'm going to, 1 a month, 2 a month, 3 every 4 months, whatever. I still get cake. I always remember when I say that. I know people like the cake thing and they get mad when I say that a little bit, but think about it. I get cake and I'm about to have emotional breakdown. And my sponsor, Joe, who, he's got 40 something years now. He had 30 some odd years, and he would sit in the back. He didn't say anything. He didn't really get involved in anything. He was just around all this time. And one year he goes down to Florida in the winter, and he comes back, and he comes to a meeting, and he goes, "Hi, my name is Joe, and I'm a recovered alcoholic." And like people started doing carry, and their necks were spinning around, recovered. And don't tell anybody, I didn't spin my head, but inside I was like, yo, why is he saying that? And I was embarrassed. I was anxious. I was nervous. I saw that people were uncomfortable because nobody says recovered. Nobody, right? Nobody. I've been around almost 20 years, and I don't know if I heard it once or twice or whatever. And if I heard it, I didn't even know what it was, so I didn't even make a thing about it. But he said it, and I could see the room, right? But more importantly, I was uncomfortable. Right? Because we'll always be recovering is what I've been taught the last 18. We'll always be recovering. Right? Now, people are introducing themselves however they want for the 18 years I've been here. People, I'm an alcoholic. I'm an addict. I'm an alcoholic in the attic. I'm cross-dress. I do this. I'm a third child syndrome, alcohol. You could say whatever you want when you're introducing yourself. But this guy comes in, and he's my sponsor, and he says recovered alcoholic, and people got really upset. So then I let it go that day because, I let it go, right? It's like, big for me. And then we do another meeting, and he says the same thing. And like a couple of people started to say something to him during that meeting when they were replying. And I went to him after the meeting. I go, Joe, what are you doing? He goes, what do you mean, what am I doing? He goes, I said, why did you say recovered alcoholic? He goes, because I'm a recovered alcoholic. I go, yeah, but we'll always be recovering. He goes, Aunt, let me ask you a question. He goes, how are you doing recently? And we had been chatting. He knew I wasn't doing so well. I said, not so good, Joe. He goes, have you been paying attention to what's going on? Have you read the book? And I was like, no. He goes, would you like to? Now comes another time, right, since 1996 where I say yes to something I don't want to do. I don't want to read the book. I don't want to start working. Right? But I say, okay. Because he said to me, obviously you haven't been paying attention, Anthony. I hate when he says that, but he still says that. Obviously you haven't been paying attention. Right? Now, I told you he wasn't really doing anything. He goes away for a few months and he comes back and all of a sudden he's a recovered alcoholic. But then he took me through the book and we went through quickly. And what does it say on the first page of the book? The title page, right? He pointed this out to me and I wasn't happy. It says, Alcoholics Anonymous, the story how thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism. Well, they weren't trying to hide it from us, right? They recovered is what they say. And then it says it in the doctor's opinion cover. Then it says it in the preamble. Then it says, in the preface, it says it in the forwards. It just keeps saying it and saying it. Recover, it's all it says. If you want to find the only time it says recovering, I think it's the top of 122, and it's in the family afterward, and they're talking to the wife whose husband just came in, and he's recovering. He has not had his spiritual awakening yet, and hopefully soon he'll be recovered. But they're explaining it's the only time you will find the word recovering in our book. Okay, the rest of the time, I think it's 15 in the big book, another 7 in the 12 and 12 that it says recovered. You can look that up on 164 more. So Joe takes me through the book. He takes me through doctor's opinion, right? And I find out, right, that I have an allergy. I find out, it tells me through the book that we're such this very unique small group, right? And what did they do back in the 1930s? I'm gonna. When things pop into my head, Dr. Bob and the Good Old Timers. If you have not read Dr. Bob and the Good Old Timers, you are selling yourself short. Now, I'm not, I didn't read it for the first 18 years, right? And then if I went to any meetings for months and years after that until we got locked down, you never see the book out, right? It tells the history of Alcoholics on how it got started, what they were doing. It is absolutely beautiful. Dr. Bob and the Good Old, it's AA approved, in case that, is important to you, right? It's AA approved, but I recommend it highly. So we went through the doctor's opinion, right? I have an allergy. I have obsession of the mind, right? There's very few people like that, right? Once I start, I can't stop. The only thing that's going to help me is a spiritual awakening, right? He says it over and over. The doctor is a specialist. He says that a few times, right? He's a specialist in alcoholism. He sits there and he says to you, people like me, doctors, whomever, have not been able to do anything. And now you guys have something crazy that's working for you tremendously. It's spiritual, right? I don't know. Today's grapevine, right? What did he say to Bill? I don't know what happened to you, dude. He goes, but you're a lot better than you were an hour ago. And I wouldn't question it. It's beautiful. Right? What happened that quickly? So again, we go through the book. We go through the first step after the doctor's opinion, which is part of the first step. We do, there is a solution where they have the 4 facts, right? The great fact. They have that we got rocketed, right? They have in there, it says some beautiful things about religion. It actually says on page 28 that, the first 100. The first 100 wrote our book, right? Bill wrote the book with the first 100. So that's who they mean when they say we. And what do they say? We, right, urge you, pretty much, we enhance you to join religious denominations. Now, I know they don't talk about that in the rooms of AA too much, but our big book says on 28 that most of us do that. You don't have to, but most of us successful, recovered alcoholics that haven't drank in a long, long time do that. And then later on page 131, they say the same for the family. You could look it up. I promise you it's there. I didn't want to see that it was there, but it says that. So it says it takes us in there as a solution. It tells, that our stories, what is our story about? How we found a relationship with God. That's on 29. Each individual in the personal stories from his own point of view and his own experience, the way he established his relationship with God. Right? And then we turn the page and we're still in step 1, right? More about alcoholism, which they refer to later on in the book so much, right? See what we said in the chapter of alcoholism. They talk about it a lot in the story, in the two wives in the family afterwards and employers. And what do they say there? It says that we're control freaks, right? Look how many times it says control. We get a little bit of sobriety, always followed by less sobriety. We get a little bit of control, always followed by a little less control, right? And they take us through the gentleman who goes to drink after a while. He dies in a short period. He gets his carpet slippers out. He dies. And then they bring us to Jim and Fred, right? Jim and Fred. I want you to pay attention to this and don't get mad at me. All Jim and Fred say are I, me, and my. Right? I, me, and my. Jim says it on page 36 and 37. Fred says it on page 40, 41. Bill also says it on the first 9 pages of his story. I, me, my, I, me, my, I, me, my, I, me, my. Check it out. You'll be crazy if you highlight it. And they all drink. Those are the only times I, me, my are used. All 3 of them drink and drink and drink, talk of suicide and that whole bit. And I didn't want to hear this either, but I went to a big book meeting when I first was doing this. And the lady said, if you're talking like that, or other people are talking like that, be careful, right? Because they're letting us know here, if I'm still talking about me, if it's still about me, right, then I'm in trouble. Only 3 times in the book that it says that. Right? And then we turn to page 37, 38, and it talks about our insanity. Insane. The insane idea went out. We're insane. We're like jaywalkers, right? Insanity, part of being a real alcoholic. I want to go back. If you only have a few minutes, right, and you're sitting with someone, on pages 20 and 21, it tells you the difference between a moderate drinker, a heavy drinker, and a real alcoholic. That's what they were doing back in the day when this program was tremendously successful, right? 75, 80% of the people. I don't know what it is now, but it's tremendously low, right? We were gaining 7 to 12% per year, and now we've lost membership over the last 20 some odd years, maybe by a lot after COVID, right? So those are some things to look at. And then it takes us to the most beautiful thing in the book, right? The we agnostics, right? And I don't want to read we agnostics because I don't think I'm an agnostic. I don't know. And don't worry in AA, you don't have to talk about, God in AA. Don't worry about the God thing. Don't say God to the newcomer, beep, boop, boop. All they talk about is God in this book, man. Again, I didn't want to hear it. Not everybody wants to hear it. But again, we've got a lot of people in this fellowship around the world. Most people are drinking. A lot of them kill themselves, right? Not many people, right? Go to a meeting. How many people, right? AA's been around since 1930, right? 1935 we started. 1939 the book was. How many people in the rooms have 50, 40? How many people do you see in the room with 30s and 20s and 40s? Right? You see someone 20s. You don't see many in the teens. You see a lot of people with short-term sobriety. Why? Why? Why do we keep defending something that's not? Well, let me go back to the whole God thing, right? So what does it say, right? Let's go back to the second step because that's what we agnostics is. We agnostics came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And what does it say in there? God either is or he isn't. God is everything or he's nothing. What is it? What is our choice to be? Take a highlighter and see how many times it mentions the word prejudice. We must lose all prejudice, it says, even against organized religion. Do not be prejudiced like we were. I love the fact that they say about half, they say it twice in a short period, about half of the first 100 thought they were agnostic or atheist. And they found out they weren't. And they say, don't let it be a hurdle to you if you think it is. And don't worry about what the people in the rooms are saying. Anybody wants to read the book, Byoc, we'll take you through, right? I'll take you through. My number's in the chat. I'll put it back up there again. We go through the book really quick. We go through the steps really quick. There'll be stuff in there that'll change how you look at things. Watch how many times the word reason is in there because they're saying it's our God, our minds. What is Bill trying to tell us there? That nobody really is an atheist or an agnostic because we believe in our own thinking, even if it kills us. He says that. Watch how he capitalizes reason and then he uses lowercase. And he actually says God of reason. So look for those words. Look for everything in the book that's capitalized. Right? Every time something's capitalized, they're talking about God, great reality, him, he, thee, thy, his, right? Power. Watch how Bill uses capitals versus lowercase. It's really important, guys. Right? It really is, because our main goal is to have a relationship with God. That's what solves our problems if we're a real alcoholic. I'm going to go back to that probably a few times. If we're a real alcoholic. And then the third step, what's the third step? Right? Came to believe we had done that already, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God, not our sponsor, not our group. They read it every day. We see it on the wall. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. You get to pick your own God. How cool is that? And it's beautiful, that piece there, right? What does it say at the beginning of how it works? We don't really pay attention to that stuff because we're daydreaming, if you're like me. Anybody have ADD, right? And then, being an alcoholic, it's part of, I think, what we do. What does it say in the beginning of how it works? Honest, 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 right? Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. So I'm going to, before I go anywhere here, it just made me think of Scott Lee. So I had mentioned to people before the meeting, Scott Lee spoke for us last night. 150 people came. It was absolutely beautiful. If you have not listened to Scott Lee, A Journey Through the Steps, it's on Spotify, it's on YouTube. It's a 5-part. He'll take you through this book. You don't have to do it with me. I promise you it will change your life. Now, you might not want your life changed, but I'm promising you that Scott Lee, A Journey Through the Steps, will change your life and sobriety. You will realize what it says in the book. I get nervous when he comes around because everybody realizes I stole all my material from him because it's all from the book, right? But so when I was doing this before, I wasn't listening to any speakers, maybe some speakers. Then I started listening to Sandy Beach, and he was a nice way to get me from fellowship into what I was doing. And then Clancy. And then I came upon Peter M., and I was like, dude, what is he talking about, right? I mean, it was just different. And then Scott Lee, and I fell in love with him. He was probably my biggest, change of what I was doing. He taught me the most about the book. Then Joe and Charlie and Scott Lee, very, very similar in how they go through the book. It's, if you haven't done that, another thing, Joe and Charlie, they take you through the steps. It's a bunch of sessions. It's beautiful. Bob is another speaker. And then the Raymer brothers, man. Oh, what is it, Glenn?
Bob D.
Bob Dow, right? Bob D. Yeah, thank you. He's excellent too. And I started listening to the Raymer brothers, Chris Raymer. Was that entertaining and taught me a lot. And it made me realize what was really going on. So I talk like them, right? Because they have a good message. And then finally I came across Russell Spatz. Man, I've listened to a lot of Russell Spatz, and now he's a good friend of ours, right? We got close. He came up and did in the Marinick group. He came up and did one of our anniversaries. I think it was 2018 or 19. And, it was beautiful. And then we got really close as COVID happened, and he's one of the big reasons he put us on his email as we were going into Zoom, and then people from around the world started to show up at our meetings. All right, we've been taking people through the steps on Zoom the last 3 years. It's absolutely beautiful. We do it in groups. We do it individually. We're always out looking for people to take through the steps. That's all we do. Right, we're not somewhere where you're going to come and get a topic in the discussion meeting where you're going to be able to just, we don't do the dead cat as Scott said last night. We don't talk about your day, the trouble you've had with your garden hose, who's coming over your house for the holidays. It's just You can get that anywhere. I don't know who it's helping, but that's what you're going to get when you go to the Fellowship of AA. I know it's true. And maybe you do it. Maybe you tolerate it. Maybe it's okay. And you think we're supposed to be loving and tolerant. I'm just saying, I don't know who that's helping, right? The newcomer comes in looking for a solution, right? They might get a little excited that they get to moan and groan, but then they usually don't make it. So, the book tells us, it gives us the exact precise instructions to do a fourth step. It's fun and easy. Everybody's made you to be afraid. You're on the fourth step? Oh my God, we'll pray for you. It takes an hour and a half. It's done in columns. The first two columns, the information already. I saw you laughing, Daya. The first two columns, the information already. It's all you think about. It's all you want to talk about. And nobody else in the world cares about it except you. The three following columns, they give you the answers. We'll do it with you. Now, I know what you say. There's only 3 columns in the book. There's actually 4 and 5. It's written out. We'll go through that. 6 is a paragraph. Step 6 is a paragraph. Step 7 is a prayer. The same night you do 5, you do 6, 7. I got a little trick one for you, right? If you've done what it says in the book and you do the 4th step the right way, the way that it says in the book, the 8th step is done already. It said we made a list of persons we had harmed, right, and whom we're willing to make amends to. We did it when we took inventory. Same night you do 6 and 7, you're actually not on 8. You did it already. You're on 9. People start making amends. We do 10 and 11, 84 through 88. If you do not read 84 to 88, now this is like a warning. I'm giving you a warning because I love you. If you don't read 84 to 88, which I had no idea what it was for 18 years, one of the speakers I was listening to, I think it might have been Scott, said, my sponsor told me 84 to 88 every morning. And I was like, what the hell is 84 to 88? It's steps 10 and 11, right? What is step 10? The continue step. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When they crop up, we ask God at once, remove them. We help another alcoholic. And it's just beautiful. Continue. It says it 4 times. Now, I wasn't doing anything, so I had nothing to continue, right? It's continue to do the steps. And then step 11 is about what? Thinking. Now, I know that they told you in those rooms, they got a sign, think, and they turned it upside down. Don't think, don't drink, and go to meetings is what I was told for a bunch of years. Meanwhile, read step 11. It says think, thinking, use our brains. God gave us brains to use, mental faculties in our thinking life, our thought life. You'll be amazed how many times it is. You'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe how many times it says thinking here. Because it's saying think with God. Think with God. We've been taught, right? No human power. It says in the book 1,000,000 times, no human power. I could write the book. If they took out no human power, it would be 11 pages of the book. No human power. Yet we were taught, rely on a sponsor, rely on the people in our group. I'm going to let you guys know the sponsor is God. It's what they tell us in there. He gives us inspiration. It tells us when we should pray and meditate 3 times a day upon awakening, right? When we go to bed and throughout the day. All through the day, it says 3 times. Those are the only 3 times. And then the biggest one is step 12. Now, I say this kindly, but I'm letting you know that 99.8% of the people in the fellowship around the world of AA are not doing step 12. Now, I know what you're saying. I got a commitment. I set up the room. I'm the Zoom coordinator. I buy the cake and cupcakes. I do all that's service. Those things are very nice. They're helpful. But I'm going to tell you what it says on page 89. And if anybody has a book, you could check me on it. It says, practical experience. This is the first 100 speaking. Practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking. That's why you came here, right, Daya? To not drink. Right? So nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking. So they're saying this is the insurance to not drink. As intensive work with other alcoholics. intensive work with other alcoholics, guys, is taking people through this book, through these steps to a spiritual awakening. That's all it is. And I'm letting you know from experience, guilty as charged for most of my sobriety, that nobody's doing it. So why is everybody drinking? Why is everybody unhappy? Why does everybody need to talk about their problems that the book says you'll overcome? Because we're not doing that. The book says right after that, next line says, it works when other things fail. All the other things that they've told you to do, they fail. Right? And then they tell you exactly how to find somebody and sponsor them. What exactly to do, when to let them go, how to do it, how to talk to them, how not to talk to them. It tells us we can go anywhere. Right? Everybody's so nervous in AA about the holidays. Right? Anybody hear that stuff about the Bermuda Triangle of the holidays? You know, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. Right? You got to be very, very alert. Don't go anywhere. Be careful. Don't this. Don't go with your family. Don't go any place to drink. The book says you can go anywhere if your motives are right. If you're recovered. If the obsession has left your mind. The program of Alcoholics Anonymous is to relieve the obsession from my mind. I do not think of alcohol. My wife drinks alcohol. I just went to get this bottle of sparkling water. There was wine. There was beer in there. It does not faze me. How much time do I have left, guys?
I think you got 15 minutes.
Oh, really? Holy cow. This is great. So
10.
Yeah,
10 to
okay.
15,
I'll be done. So I think this is really important. In fact, it's tremendously important. I've been talking about it a lot recently. Right? I've recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body. I have solved the drink problem. I'm an ex-problem drinker. The obsession has been removed by God. I do not think about it. It does not faze me. I go anywhere. I buy it for people. I pour it if I have to. It's not part of my life anymore. I was in France recently. We were with friends and we went on a wine tour because everyone else enjoyed it. Right? It does not faze me. Okay, that's what the program promises. Now I'm going to tell you the difference, right, between being recovered and not recovered, right? I am not recovered from a sugar addiction, right? I have not recovered. I don't know if any of you have the same thing, right? Where you wake up, you gouge yourself all weekend, you gouge yourself at night, you wake up the next morning, you get on the treadmill, you worry about this, my pants, how am I, and then you go back and do it again. Right. And I know it's not healthy for me. And I know it could ruin my health. And I know it makes me take stuff that's not mine. But God hasn't relieved me of that yet. And I'm deep in prayer. I'm talking to people about it. And when he's ready to take it, he'll take it from me. So the difference is when I went to get this, if there was an egg Claire or some Oreos in there, man, I might have jonesed on those and have black stuff in my teeth right now while I'm talking to you, right? Because I am not recovered from the sugar. I would love to be recovered from the sugar, right? And one day I hope to come back and tell you that God has taken away, but I've tried everything, like it says in the book about alcohol. I've tried everything so far, right? And it occupies my mind the way it says the obsession doesn't go away. It occupies my mind. So I hope that's telling you a lot that have some humility about what this disease is and how it gets solved, but how there's other parts. And you want to think that's not alcoholism? You don't think that's another way alcoholism is shown? Anybody have it with shopping? Anybody have it with sex? Anybody have it with gambling? Right? I think so. Right? Something to look at. That's alcoholism just finding a different means. Fantasy football, right? Everybody's got these gambling sites for the kids are going crazy with all this stuff. It's going to kill us all. Or anybody, prescription, but whatever your situation is, right? It finds its way and we could be sober, getting cake and doing all that other stuff and not telling anybody about it because we think we're going to still be able to solve it. And it depends if you're the real deal or not. It really does. Again, I'm so happy what it says at the end of the book, the promises that it says to us. If you haven't read the 5th step promises or the 10th step promises, come read them with us in the book. I mean, they're just beautiful. They blow away the 9-step promises that we read. They blow them away. And the great part of it, I see you, Derek. I'm shaking my head too, man. Derek's going to get a neck ache, man. He's been shaking his head the whole meeting, right? But it's important, man. These promises, and the promises, you'll see, once you do the work, God takes it away from you, and then all the other stuff happens. You see these promises. It doesn't involve us doing anything anymore. God takes it. Was taken away. It was miraculous. You'll read it. It's beautiful. So I don't know, man. I'm stoked right now. I'll steal a word that Scott Lee said to me the day before he shared. I'm stoked that we did this, and thank you so much, man. Peace.